So passwords are a problem. We all know this. 80% of data breaches involve weak and reused passwords. 40% plus of help desk tickets involve passwords. So passwords are a major source of frustration and productivity drain everywhere. The main reason for that is that we rely on users to create, manage, and remember passwords. And we as users in general aren't great at doing any of that. So we tend to reuse the same passwords or use weak variations of the same passwords. And that's not great because it makes things easier for hackers to compromise different types of resources. It also means that when we try to create strong passwords, we tend to forget them, and that leads to help desk tickets. So passwords are a big annoyance, and they need, like, ideally they wouldn't exist in the world, and there are many efforts that aim to try to eradicate passwords. One of the most successful and the most widespread is single sign-on, and that's something that's one of our areas of expertise here at JumpCloud. So single sign-on completely removes passwords for users. You just authenticate to the identity provider. That could be using a password or using a passwordless authentication mechanism. Once you're in, the authentication provider, which is JumpCloud in this case, authenticates you to any type of application or resource that supports single sign-on. That's great. Completely removes passwords. Users don't have to go through the process of creating, managing, and remembering passwords. You don't have password reset tickets for every single service. That's fantastic. The only problem, though, is that not all services support single sign-on. And that's a problem because when a service does not support single sign-on, then you have to revert back to using passwords, which means that users are back in the situation where they have to create, manage, and remember passwords, and they tend to reuse the same passwords or weak variations of the same passwords, which creates problems for both the users and you as a business. Now, in some specific scenarios, a business can really move away from using passwords completely and only use services that use single sign-on. But even in these cases, shadow IT is a reality. So users will tend to use services that you are not aware of, and these services will need to be password-based because they're not enrolled in their single sign-on setup. So passwords are still going to be there. You're just not going to be as aware of them. So that limits your ability to control what's happening. This is why you still need password managers today. Passwords are on the way out, but it's going to take many years to get them completely out. In the meantime, password managers are going to be here to fill the gap. So that's the main use case of a password manager today in 2022. Fill the gaps when SSO is not available, provide secure storage of passwords and other types of secrets. So you get rid of Excel sheets, secure notes, post-it notes, any type of insecure medium to store passwords. Password managers should provide you with a password generator that incentivizes and helps users create strong, unique, complex passwords when they sign up to new accounts or when they reset their password on a specific account. A password manager should enable secure sharing of credentials so that users can collaborate in a secure way and not send passwords over email, Slack, phone calls, etc. And password managers help provide you centralized management capabilities so that you can control the internal password manager that you use within your own business, but also the instances of the password manager that you're using across your companies or your clients' infrastructure. This is why password managers fit for purpose for MSPs need to be multi-tenant. They need to have centralized billing, centralized controls, and they need to have centralized child company instances so that you can deploy the password manager to every single child company and manage them separately. Ideally, they'd have a single pane of glass that show you alert and reports in a centralized dashboard across organizations. But yeah, so that's the importance of password manager. This is why a password manager is still relevant today and is going to remain relevant in the coming years.
Please subscribe and check out more content from us.